Bit of a complicated setup across the Northeast today. We have an occluded front here across New York State. South of that is a trailing cold front, and then the warm front right now still south of Long Island, New York. We have seen some milder air surge into the southernmost parts of Connecticut. We're still dealing with some light showers. First Alert Live radar is scanning right now, showing some light showers for Hamden and New Haven. These are very light, just rain. We're done talking about even the risk of anything mixing in, which is great news there. And you'll notice the wind direction along the shoreline keeps this southerly component around until we get a little bit later into the day, and that's really what helps warm the shoreline up. It'll be a bit tougher to erode some of the colder air that's locked in right now across inland areas. Here's a live look in our iCam in Rocky Hill. We're looking north 10 miles to the Hartford skyline. It is gray outside, overcast conditions for most of the state right now. A live look in our iCam New Haven, very similar, 48 degrees, wind out of the north-northeast at 9 miles an hour in the Elm City, but in different parts of Connecticut where we have more of a southerly wind coming off the relatively milder Long Island Sound, temperatures have surged. So in southeastern Connecticut right now, it's about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than yesterday at this time, whereas inland areas are about 3 to 5 degrees cooler right now compared to yesterday. So that puts actual temperatures at 38 in Salisbury, Windsor Locks, 36 in Putnam, 43 in Waterbury, 42 in Meriden, 50 in Norwich, 55 in Groton, 49 in Bridgeport right now, 48 in New Haven. So we're expecting temperatures to briefly surge in the southern part of the state over the next few hours before we watch everybody fall back later tonight. We do keep some of the cloud cover around. Here's 10 o'clock, still cloudy, 45 to 50 degrees outside. And as we begin the day tomorrow, we'll settle in the upper 30s and low 40s. First Alert Futurecast showing perhaps just a few breaks of sun before the clouds return overnight tonight. We start the day off tomorrow mostly cloudy. There could be a sprinkle mixed in, but most do stay dry tomorrow. High temperatures tomorrow between about 50 and 55 degrees. We start to dry things out a bit more as we head into the weekend, so that means a bit more sunshine, but we'll also pull in some chillier air. So tomorrow, not a bad day at all if you want to be outside. Pretty seasonable, all things considered. It's just we won't have much sun to enjoy. It's the weekend where things certainly become a bit brighter. But look at these temperatures Saturday morning. We start the day off in the 30s. We top the afternoon out only around 50 degrees, give or take. And then by Sunday, we start off the day even chillier, which means in the afternoon will be a few degrees cooler as well. So today, again, we're expecting a bit of a split state situation here with temperatures a bit cooler inland than at the shoreline. Tonight, upper 30s to near 40 degrees, partly cloudy, fairly seasonal out there for this time of year. And on the First Alert 7-day forecast, temperatures do return to the 50s tomorrow, 50 to 55 for highs. On Saturday, right around 50 degrees, dry for Veterans Day. And then we're in the 40s Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week. It's not until Wednesday where we actually bring back some 50s. But an interesting signal here as we get closer to Thanksgiving and the end of the month. In fact, we could be talking about temperatures returning to be back above average. So this trend of chillier weather may be short-lived, giving you the first alert that things could eventually warm back up. But for now, Kara, we do expect bright and chilly conditions this weekend, lasting through most of next week.